All right, thanks.
All right, I call this Sawyer County zoning committee meeting to order. Roll call, Kathy, please.
Ron Buckholz.
Present.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Kay Wilson. Absent. John Saralski.
Here.
Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
Steve Carriennen. Absent. Thank you.
Okay, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, number C, statement of committee and hearing procedure and statement of hearing notice. A full statement of this committee and hearing procedure document including directions for individuals wishing to speak at a public hearing to be conducted at the zoning committee meeting are available in the back of this room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee and hearing procedure documents is hereby incorporated into the record for this committee meeting. Any public hearing conducted today, today's committee meeting has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes and then in the Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette as posted. All right. Approval of minutes. What do you want to make that motion to approve it? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Saralski. And we have a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve August 16th zoning committee meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, public comment. Please note, comment time is intended for the general public, not comments relating to a specific application before this committee. Each agenda item requiring a public hearing will have its public hearing conducted just prior to the application being considered by this committee. If you wish to speak on a specific agenda item, we encourage you to wait until that time. So, is anybody out there want to speak in public comment that did not fill out one of these? You want to speak, Linda?
We're not allowed to walk up there anymore.
Well, they've been walking up here this morning, so.
Morning, Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner, Birchwood resident. My public comment today is about the zoning process. And I understand that there will be a meeting with the county and the towns on September 30th. But really the focus of why there's a discussion and about processes is to better serve the residents and the property owners in the county. In each of the, whether it's a town or the county, you each have a role in making sure that you follow the processes so that both the applicants and the affected neighbors are well served. I could think of no better example than last month's conditional use permit process for an applicant in the town of Sand Lake, showing just how failed the system is. It's going to be a really good example to walk through of what needs improvement in the process. The neighbors feel intimidated, and they did not feel that in light of how the decision was made, that it would be productive to spend the $750 to do a board of appeals. And I can understand why, if the town is not supporting or has made statements that they wouldn't support a reconsideration, why you wouldn't want to do that. But that does not mean that that this is just going to move on. But I'll save those specifics for another time. But I do, that hearing did raise another question as to when it comes to conditions on a conditional use permit, at what level are they enforceable? So for instance, in a CUP you're going to consider later, it has to do with docks and boating activity. Can the county enforce that, or is that just the DNR? When somebody applies for a liquor license that allows them to serve alcohol until 1 o'clock in the morning, can a conditional use permit override that? So I guess those are just some of the things that, in addition to how can towns in the county better serve property owners and residents, what actually is your authority when you make those decisions? Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Linda.
I have one for Janine Chabak. Did you want to hold your comments until that agenda item for new business? Okay. Anyone else wishing to make public comment? Anyone online?
Okay,
Hearing none, seeing none, moving on. Number 3, rezone applications. We don't have any this morning. Woo-hoo. Conditional use applications, public hearing in the town of Leonard, conditional use permit number 24-016, owner William and Jane Gross Family Trust. It is parcel number 014-942, 353410, tax ID 39565. It is 1.84 total acres, zoned residential recreational 1. Permit is desired for an accessory structure, which would be 48 by 60, 59 by 62 with a lean-to. And is an accessory structure across the town road from where the primary dwelling is located. Primary dwelling is located at 12173 Wagner Circle. This is to replace and increase an existing garage, to have storage space for a 30-foot travel trailer, 25-foot pontoon, 2 fishing boats, and a UTV, as well as a small workshop. There would be no habitable space and is wood framed. This would be per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 4.26, Parent 2, accessory structure across the town road. Again, per my staff report, you can see the conditions as well as the requirements as far as 4.26 Parent 2, that an accessory structure cannot be constructed on that parcel containing the principal structure due to the inability to meet setbacks. I myself have confirmed that the lot containing the primary dwelling would not be able to fit the proposed accessory structure due to setbacks on lakefront parcels. This may be allowed as an exemption under 4.26 Parent 2 if the town and zoning committee determine in their findings of facts that placement of the accessory structure on that adjacent parcel divided by the public roadway that does not contain the principal structure would lessen the impacts of impervious surface runoff to the lake. The structure, again, would not be able to fit on the lakeside, but this would also lessen impacts of impervious surface. The proposed new structure would be approximately 275 feet away from the lake shore on a non-riparian lot. The proposed adjacent parcel is within 66 feet of the parcel containing the principal structure. It's approximately 50 feet away. The proposed adjacent parcel meets the minimum square footage requirements per the zone district, and would meet all other county zoning setback and requirements. A conditional use permit must be approved by the zoning committee in any zone district, and provided that the town has also approved the conditional use permit. This would be indicated as a condition as part of my staff report. And then if it is in a platted subdivision, that the maximum size is 1,200 square feet and not to exceed 18 feet in height. This is not in a platted subdivision. Again, per my conditions as listed in my staff report, no habitable area would be allowed in this accessory structure. No commercial use or operation would be allowed. The size of the structure not to exceed 59 by 62 with a lean-to. Must follow all other county, state, federal regulations, including a potential driveway permit from the town. That removal of the existing garage on that vacant lot would be required within 1 year of the date of the issue of the land use permit, and that a land use permit is still required if the CUP is approved, and that a deed restriction or lot binding agreement is also required, that the lot containing the principal dwelling or the primary dwelling and the lot containing the new proposed accessory structure cannot be sold separately. By action of the town board, motion was approved. Gordy Christians, Town Chair, Michael Bandro, Supervisor, Jack Schustrom, Supervisor, Brent Danielson, Supervisor, Jason Schustrom, Supervisor. The board approved the application. The lot was permanently attached to, if the lot is permanently attached to the current residence. And that again is one of those conditions for that deed restriction. There were 22 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. One was returned with no objections, which is actually Gordy Christians, and that is all.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 24-016.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman. We have a second?
Yep.
There's a second by Mr. Savitsky to go into public hearing on CUP number 24-016. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in public hearing. The applicants want to speak to the committee? We need to state your name and address just for the record too,
All right.
please.
Dave and Tammy Hubler. Address is 12173 N Wagner Circle, Hayward, Wisconsin, 54843. First, thank you all very much for hosting us today and for hearing our request to add that accessory structure. As Jay stated, it is an accessory structure. It's going to be a wood frame pole shed used strictly for storage. We have our boats and our camper, a UTV. We'd like to put a little workshop in there, but not for commercial or residential use, just strictly storage.
Yeah. I have a project truck that I want to work on too, so part of it'll be, a workshop area instead of just cold storage, so. No,
Okay.
no living quarters or anything else. We understand.
All right,
And you're fine with all the conditions that were laid out? Thank you.
Yes, I guess I have a question. It's probably something that we can follow up on after is how do we bind the properties? Does that just automatically happen?
No, so there's a separate document that you would have to sign, notarize, and record on the deed. We do have those form documents to do that, though.
Okay, great. Thank you.
you got a question? Oh, okay. All right, anyone else have any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone out there that wants to speak in favor of this CUP? Is anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this CUP? Okay, if not, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 24-016.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Schuman. Second by Mr. Sorowski to come out of public hearing on CUP number 24-016. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Lenru, conditional use permit number 24-016, owner William and Jane Gross Family Trust. Legal description is previously read into record. This request is per section 4.26, parent 2 of the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, for an accessory structure located across a town road from where the primary dwelling is located. In motion making, please reference staff report for list of possible conditions.
Okay, committee.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion to approve CUP 24-016, including Jay's staff report and all those conditions that the applicant has agreed to abide by, and the finding of facts 1 through 14 as presented. Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman on the floor to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman to approve and a second by Mr. Savitsky to approve CUP number 24-016. Any more discussion? No more discussion? Kathy, can we have roll call, please?
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
John Sorolski.
Yes.
Tweed Schuman.
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky.
Yeah.
All in favor.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on, this is the public hearing, the Town of Round Lake conditional use permit number 24-017, owner Treeland's Cottages, Inc., Linda Treeland, Harold, and Janet Treeland, the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, and the southwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, all in section 36, township 41 north, range 7 west. Tax IDs are 26393 and 26394. It is two separate parcels, one of 39.008 acres and 37.797 acres for a total of 76.805 acres, both zoned residential recreational 2. Permit is desired to modify the original conditional use permit of 12-007 and then later amended as 16-001 for the Treelands Cottages, Inc. to increase the number of recreational vehicle sites from 75 to 100 at a licensed campground. The additional sites may be either transient or permanent. All other restrictions currently in place would remain. This is per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 1, and Section 6.6 with conditions. Again, as part of my staff report, this would be really viewed as an additional or more of a modification to the original conditional use permits that were already approved for the licensed campground. This one in particular is to increase an additional 25 sites for a total of 100 sites at the Treelands Cottage campgrounds. With this potential expansion, all proposed sites would be in compliant locations with the provisions as laid out in Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 6.6. Also with the potential expansion, no other conditions as amended on the CUP 16001 would change, except the total number of permitted sites would go from the 75 to 100. The applicant has already started working with a soil tester and a licensed plumber to install additional sewer systems on the property to be utilized for the potential expansion. The additional 25 sites are located in the northwest corner of the existing campground and would ultimately be across those two separate 40-acre parcels, both under the same ownership, both zoned residential recreational too. As the conditions that were laid out from CUP 16-001, those would be that setbacks on Highway B, that an existing 100-foot tree buffering is to be maintained, that any campsite would be a minimum of 300 feet from Moss Creek, that campsites are to be a minimum of 300 feet from the existing house to the west of the property on County Highway B, that no more than 3 docks or piers are allowed on Moss Creek, and no motorized watercraft allowed to access Moss Creek. The motorized access may be compliant with or may not be compliant with the state public trust doctrine. Those that are unfamiliar with that, I don't know if it was a county, this is probably 6 years ago, they put a giant culvert under that road, and technically you can take a motorboat back in there. And if you can legally navigate with a motorboat, there would be no provisions that the county or the state could say you can't motorboat into there. Again, that would go against the state public trust doctrine. So I don't know if that one really holds merit or the test of water. Other conditions, that no water park would be allowed, that there would just be the swimming pool area only. No mobile homes allowed, only recreational vehicles or approved park model units, that all lighting must be down lighting, that no cabins are allowed, that no permanent attachments to recreational vehicles are allowed, sites to be in operation from April 15th until November 15th, and that a year-round caretaker is allowed to live on the premises, that no more than 100 campsites allowed, a permanent manager or designee is available 24 hours per day. And quiet hours are from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day. No fireworks allowed. Of the 100 campsites, 60 may be seasonal, 40 must remain transient. As by action of the town board, motion was approved. Ralph Hansen, chairman, Dan Palmer, supervisor, Kay Wilson, supervisor, James Strandland, supervisor, Marvin Scott, supervisor. Attached conditions are the same as mine. So all the conditions is laid out in the staff report with their findings of facts, that this is to encourage planned and orderly land use development, encourages use of land and other natural resources, which are in accordance with their character and adaptability, recognize the need for agricultural, forestry, industries, and business in future growth. There were 9 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. 0 were returned or 0 additional comments were received. That is all.
All right, thanks, Jay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 24-017.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sorowski and a second by Mr. Schuman to go into public hearing on CUP number 24-017. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are now in public hearing on CUP number 24-017. Who wants to be the guest speaker?
I don't know why. Thank you. You have in front of you a little packet we put together.
Can you
And I'll just read this to be concise.
state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Harold Treeland, 10345 N Duffy Road, Hayward, Wisconsin, 54843. The Treeland Farm RV Resort, we've operated this since 2013, and we've been noted as one of the finest RV resorts in northern Wisconsin, if not the state. As a matter of fact, Bruce Paulson, at the time with the county board, reached out to us in 2021 looking to tour our RV resort and base new zoning guidelines off of our park. The focus was minimum lot, our parcel sizes, maximum number of sites per acre, downlighting, deck and patio construction. To keep abreast of current trends in the industry and area, Treeland Cottages, Inc. has professional appraisals done routinely. Our last appraisal was done in 2022, and within a 10-mile radius of the Treeland Farm RV Resort, there are 4,811 people in 4,991 housing units. Of those, 69% within a 10-mile radius of the Treeland Farm RV Resort are seasonal, recreational, or occasional use housing. So the conclusion, and we back that up with the appraisal. It's in your packet there. The market does support a campground expansion. We currently have 40 seasonal units in our resort with a waiting list of 152. Looking ahead to 2025, from June to August, our peak season, we're already sold out 6 of the weekends, and a lot of these are 4 or 5 and 2-week stays, whatever. We're just sold out. We have a waiting list on those weeks. The other weeks already, they will be sold out. They will have a waiting list. They're close to it anyway. This past summer, we ran a waiting list for every weekend, June through August. Currently, we have 75 sites on a 64.5-acre parcel. That is one site for every 3/4 of an acre. At 100 sites, we'd be one site for every 2/3 of an acre, well within state and county guidelines. The adjacent properties to the Treeland Farm RV Resort are owned by Tyler and Mallory Treeland and Chris Schlopper and Tatum Treeland Schlopper. The park is encapsulated by forests and interspersed with hiking trails and recreation areas. The closest non-Treeland single home would be 1/4 mile to the west. The other homes on the west would be 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile away. To the east, the nearest non-Treeland single home is 500 feet away. Treeland Resorts does not own the home, but property manages it for the owner. There is one seasonal RV located on Moss Creek that is privately owned. It's on the east side of Moss Creek, and as well as one other home located on Moss Creek, and that is about 600 feet away. Over the past 11 years of operation, we've never had a complaint about noise, air pollution, light pollution. The isolated location of the RV park combined with our general RV resort rules, quiet hours, and low population density make for a wonderful RV experience. Stormwater management over the last 11 years has not been a problem. We direct water to holding areas and throughout the park and allow water to dissipate. The proposed new development area would be no different. The 10 acres are former overgrown pasture land that we opened up as part of a forestry management habitat improvement plan. The plan was developed working directly with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and an area forester. The setbacks of the RV park are well beyond any required setbacks to wetlands, lakes, anything like that. The project does not involve any new driveways or town or county roads. The main roads to the new development will be paved a year after completion of the project to allow for the grounds to settle. All other roads at that time will be covered with a high-quality gravel. State mandate for every 100 sites, you are required to have one flush toilet for each gender. The Treeland Farm RV Resort with 75 sites currently houses 14 flush toilets with 75 sites. There are 8 full bathrooms, shower, sink, toilet available 24 hours a day for guests. With the addition of 25 new sites on the northwest corner of the property, we would add another 4 full bathrooms, shower, sink, toilets for the convenience of the guest. Something that we're not required to do, but we do because we feel it adds to the quality of the property. There are 2 state and county approved drain fields for new development. They're not done. I mean, they're approved. The soil tests are all done. Due to the topography of the land, ground disturbance will be at a minimum and immediately mulched and gravel. Open natural spaces will be enhanced. Areas that require it will have trees planted and or transplanted, exactly as it did with the building of the original RV resort, where we moved 110 trees to other parts of the park to enhance the Northwoods appeal. Utility lines are already in place. Electricity will be fed from existing transformers in the park. Wells are already in place. Natural buffers are used everywhere possible. As you can see, we are currently, you can't even see us from Highway B with the buffers we have in place. We are very conscious of preserving the Northwoods nature of our RV resort and are looking forward to the approval of our plan. We hope that our history in the area, as well as the product that we have created, speaks for itself, and we invite you to come and take a tour of our RV resort and proposed expansion. We have maps here if you'd like to see them, and I'm sure my constituents would be open to answer any questions.
Hey, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I
Go
do.
ahead, Mr.
I do, yep. Mr. Treeland, then, do all these RV sites, they're plumbed, their sewers run into drain fields then, you're saying?
Yeah, we have,
No holding tanks?
currently our 75 sites have 20, 30, and 50 amp power, and everyone has sewer and water hookup. The proposed 25 sites would have the same sewer power and what, 20, 30, 50 amp and water hookups, and sewer.
Do you offer just a RV dump site then for people?
We
or
have
they
an
to
RV
hook up
dump
to a
site
campsite?
there. It's not used very much, because most of them just tie into the system. When they leave, they're flushed out and they're gone.
Sure.
But we have a dump site on site, yeah.
And you're willing to meet all these requirements listed in Jay's staff report? And obviously you've been meeting them for the
Yeah,
previous
we have been meeting. them,
75
yes,
sites?
yes.
What about your driveway into that park? Is that a safe? Have there
driveway's
been
been
any
there.
accidents or anything?
No, the driveway's been there for 100 years. And in the last 13 years, we've had, knock on wood, but it is Highway B.
Right,
But we have had no incidents and the driveway's been there. And right across right across Highway B is Pines Road, which is a town road paved, which has been there. So you got a little crossroads there.
and no additional driveway with this expansion off of B?
There'll be
No
no
additional driveway?
additional driveway.
They enter from the same place?
Yeah. Yeah. They come through and they go, the new expansion's a 1/4 mile off of B and a 1/2 mile off of A.
Got it. Thank you. Yep.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Treeland? Thank you. That was very good speech you give us there, and I just want to compliment. We hear a lot of good things about Treeland's Resort,
Well, good. Thank you.
and it's nothing ever been negative. It's always been good things, so we appreciate what you do.
Thank you very much.
Something I've got to say.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry.
I've driven by there a million times. And there is no way I could see that there's 75 sites out there. So you did a really good job of doing it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? You want to speak in favor or just for your information, Linda? Okay, you can come and speak then.
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner and Birchwood resident, and I was here in 2012 and 2017 for the previous hearings, and they looked a lot different than they do today. So Mr. Treeland addressed a lot of the issues that were concerns when, in previous hearings, people had concerns. And it's not for or against, but I have concerns with the state standards for the design of pout systems serving campsites is inadequate by probably the water usage that people have today. So although they meet the standards, I'm worried about future groundwater impacts when you have people using more water and creating more wastewater than what they're required to build to. And the other thing that I have a concern about is I thought that previous conditions were more limiting access to Moss Creek by land. And now, in addition to approving the additional campsites, there seems to be an allowance to provide access to Moss Creek. So if you could please discuss that in your deliberations, because not all the information was on the website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I may.
Yes, you may speak to that.
Harold Treeland again. We oversize our drain fields. It is true that with an RV resort, the water supply, they don't require as much. I think Jay will say, but we oversize it to accommodate for that. That's, as a matter of fact, our shower house would not require to be sized into the drain field. Okay, because they figure that each site has its own, going to be using it, has their own bathroom anyway. So they don't figure that into the state regulations, but we do. Also, I've said it for years, the property on Moss Creek isn't even involved in it. So if you look at the land, the 40 line is 400 feet from Moss Creek. So technically, it's not even subject to these things, but it's not even an issue. So,
Are there any docks on Moss Creek that are used by campground guests?
oh, no.
Okay.
Chris and Tatum have a dock on there. They got their kayaks there.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody out there want to speak in favor of the CUP? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition of the CUP? We have none. I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 24-017.
Motion.
Mr. Schulman makes the motion, second by Mr. Savitsky. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing on CUP number 24-017.
This is the discussion action Town of Round Lake conditional use permit number 24-017 on Treelands Cottages, Inc. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, this request is to modify the original CUP of 12-007 as later then amended as 16-001. This would ultimately be to increase the total number of permitted sites from 75 to 100 as the as per Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 17.2, Parent B, Parent 1, and Section 6.7, as labeled and listed in my staff report, all conditions as set forth that we heard from the applicant that they are agreeable to. The one I guess I just wanted to re-hit on that we have in there would be that, the access to Moss Creek. We'd heard from the Treelands that they have no campground guests that are using those. But that was originally put in there, I think, so that there wasn't overflow from the campground, using that access on Moss Creek. So we have in there the no more than 3 docks or piers allowed onto Moss Creek and no motorized watercraft. Knowing the property and the facility, no one's launching a boat there. They're going to be driving down to the actual resort and launching a boat and keeping a boat at their other dock systems down there. So I wouldn't remove that or change it or alter it. It just kind of solidifies that, that campground really isn't to be accessing Moss Creek at that point. There are other areas for access for campground guests.
So you just want to leave that in there?
I do.
Okay. No, that's fine. Okay, committee.
I'll make a motion to approve CUP 24-07 or 017 with the conditions that Jay set in his staff report and that if they follow the finding of facts 1 through 14.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Mr. Savitsky and a second by Mr. Schulman to approve CUP number 24-017. Any more discussion? Roll call, Kathy, please.
John Saralski.
Yes.
Marshall Savitsky.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
All in favor.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to new business. Last month, we heard kind of an introduction as far as the holding tank options. Thank you, guys. Holding tanks is kind of as a system of last resort versus a system of choice. So holding tanks as a system of last resort versus a system of choice is really exactly how it sounds. If individuals prove that there are no other system types allowed on the property due to soil conditions or area, then their last resort would be a holding tank. Currently, and since the zoning department's inception, we have allowed holding tanks as system of choice. That is again to say that nothing additional is needed in order to be proved that you can use a minimum 2,000 gallon holding tank as your code compliant sewer system. So again, when we last talked, we kind of have some initial discussion. I wanted to have some further discussion with this committee as far as direction before we would ever, look at doing any type of draft amendments. I also have Eric Wellauer here today. He's our county sanitarian as part of the zoning department. And I think we have some additional discussion that we want to have before we hear from other people. So I'll kind of turn it over to Eric for some of the other schematics on it.
Okay, good morning, Eric Wellauer, County Sanitarian. I think I provided everyone with some handouts. I'm old school with paper. We'll figure out how to get on the screen of electronics here soon, but as Jay was talking about the differences between system of choice and system of last resort, if you look on the second page, pink and green map of the surrounding counties, we have a 50-50 split. Counties in pink are a system of last resort and counties in green are a system of choice. Of those counties, you can see the breakdown. Some require a conventional system like Bayfield of 48 inches of suitable soil, Barron and Rusk. If you have a mound and you have 24 inches of suitable soil, then you have to put that mound in and you can't have a holding tank. And Washburn County has an A+4, which is a term of about 12 inches of suitable soil. You have to put that mound system in. All of these counties utilize exceptions. If you have a small hunting cabin, 1-bedroom cabin, they'll allow a holding tank if owner wanted so. If they don't have the area, even though they have the soils, if they wanted a 10-bedroom home and you have soils that are 100 inches good, they're still not going to be able to fit that in so that a holding tank would be allowed by the county. And it's the discretion of either the department or one county utilizes the zoning committee for exception or allowance to have a holding tank. I also interviewed my counterparts when calling the different zoning departments. And it seems as though there's a range of about 10% to 40% of system types are holding tanks within the other counties. Sawyer County has maintained between 15 and 20% over the last few decades. In general, I've been talking to plumbers, property owners, soil testers, pumpers, realtors. Everyone is trying to avoid holding tanks if possible. But there's sometimes that it's just, it works out that way. The reasons to avoid them are the long-term cost of pumping. You have the initial cost, and I did talk to an installer, a plumber, and he said a large holding tank install is equivalent to about a 2 or 3 bedroom gravity conventional system to date. That used to be swayed because the cost of a holding tank install was less than an install of a conventional. That is not the same to date. So, and I guess just other things to look at would be the last 3rd and 4th page, highlighted in pink of a holding tank for a 10-bedroom dwelling is just a small portion. And then if you look at the large portion of the drain field required for a conventional, it would take up majority of a parcel. So that's the area issue along with the soils criteria.
Yeah, and then, I mean, from there, some of this is kind of focused around the aspects that, should we allow, additional holding tanks for potential additional occupancy? It's really kind of the department's kind of recommendation that, we're looking at additional onus being placed on the pumpers, that when pumpers are signing a servicing contract, which is required for a holding tank, the pumper has to sign off that, yes, I will be responsible for pumping and servicing your holding tank. We're looking at putting an additional onus on those pumpers and to the fact having kind of a required notarized signature from that pumper that, yes, they can have the capabilities to pump that tank. And again, kind of ascertaining to the owner, well, what is this holding tank usage going to be for? Am I going to be out here every week pumping out your tank, or is it every 2 months because it's only a family of 2 or 3?
Right.
So that's where we're looking at really kind of putting some of that onus back on the pumpers to make sure that they can figure out a schedule that meets their demands as well as the individual's demands. Again, from our standpoint, we would be looking at recommendation that we would keep as a status quo of system of choice, while putting that additional onus on plumbers and pumpers, so that the plumbers installing the system are aware of what this future use of the property may be. If that is not the appetite of the committee, we can certainly, look at other options, but we need some direction from you. Because if we do go to a system of last resort, it would put additional burden on our staff. And then we really need to look at if we were still to allow holding tanks because you couldn't fit a 10-bedroom conventional due to area, who gives approvals to still go the holding tank route? Do you want to see those as special use permits, as conditional use permits, or do you want it to have it as departmental approval? So that's where we're at in kind of our discussions that we've had over the last month after we last heard this. And I do believe there are other individuals that would like to speak on that topic as well.
Sure.
Yeah, real quick, Jace. So you, for departmental decisions, you want to keep it the way it is now, meaning system of choice. And then you can make that decision and not bring it here as a conditional use permit every time someone requests a holding tank.
Correct. If
Is
we
that what
went,
you're saying?
if we went system of last resort, which is, again, is a different policy than what we've always had and what our POUTS ordinance requires. If we were to go to system of last resort, we need some quantifiers as to what triggers that. One of them is going to have to be soil conditions as to then what extent. Is it the difference between a mound system or a conventional system, where if your only option is mound or holding tank, can you still go the holding tank option? If your option is conventional versus holding tank, can you still go the holding tank option? Right now, you can go holding tank regardless of what soils you have. The other aspect then is area, where if you have a 100-foot by 200-foot lake lot, and you say, well, I want to install a 7-bedroom sewer system, you're not going to have the area to put that conventional system or that mound system in for a 7-bedroom. You would potentially have the area for a series of holding tanks as your means of your sewer system disposal. But again, does that area criteria require your approval, or is it just something for us to look at?
Yeah.
And that's something you have to anticipate, that if you guys want to be reviewing these, they're going to have to come through as a committee process, whether it's as a special use or conditional use. It's something that either you're going to have to approve or we're going to have to do. We haven't seen any of the issues, with this and those trying to, install holding tanks to increase occupancy. I don't want to tie this with TRH, but I mean, that's somewhat where some of this is coming from. Again, we're looking at it. If TRH ordinance was never approved, is this something that we still want to do for the county? And we have not seen the issue. The issues that we see more so are those that are illegally pumping their holding tanks, and those are usually, places that are way out in the woods. It's not your TRH owners. Your TRH owners are not going to just pump it on the ground because they're going to have a lot of other issues.
Right.
Truman,
Well, I'd like to hear what Ginny has to say.
Yeah.
Because I know she's
we're
prepared.
gonna bring her up right now.
Good morning, Jenny Chaback, 10363N McLean Road. I've learned so much about septic systems since being involved with the TRH ordinance, more than I ever wanted to, but I really have a great deal of appreciation for you guys, especially Eric. I mean, the detail you go into in stuff like this is fabulous, so thank you. I have been told that the TRH owners will find a way to get around our occupancy constrictions, and that holding tanks is an option that they will do. And this isn't just an issue of TRHs, as Jay said, it's also population density. I mean, do you really want a 10-bedroom house on a lake lot? I don't know, but where it comes down for me is there needs to be more supervision. And if you go the route of system of last resort and it comes before the committee, this is the best place to make that decision at the committee. It's not going to be that many. I mean, it's 18% of however many new construction sites we have. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to me like that compares in any way to the potential workload of having every TRH come before zoning. And I have supported moving that over to HHS, and I'm hopeful that that ordinance will pass. But the concern for the water is still there. It transcends TRHs. And I would like to see this committee shore up this verbiage when it comes to holding tanks. Go with system of last resort, and then make the decision when it comes to you. It's that simple for me.
Do you want to respond to that again, please?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yeah, we have this as, discussion and this is a good discussion to have. Because ultimately your direction will help us what our next steps are. If we want to see draft language as far as this change. We talk about the 18% of holding tanks, over the last at least half a decade, 18% equivalates to about 60 holding tanks annually. And if every one of those holding tanks have to come in for committee approval, that's 60 additional cases annually. Again, if we go system of last resort, we really need to quantify the breakdown as to what other means you can show to still go holding tank. Like I said, all those other counties that are adjacent to us that allow system of last resort, they still allow you to go holding tank if you can show that you don't have the area to fit your size sewer system in. So even if a individual wants to have a 10-bedroom house and they can't fit a 10-bedroom conventional, all other counties around us allow them to still go holding tank. And there's only one county that requires that it goes to committee for approval. And that committee, I don't see how you could deny them. I want to have a 10-bedroom house. I want to have a 10-bedroom sewer system. And you're going to say, no, you can't have a 10-bedroom sewer system. I think you're lining yourself up for some type of lawsuit because you're prohibiting someone to build even though they meet all their setbacks, except they can't fit that size sewer system in. Their only other option as a last resort is holding tank.
So what you're saying, Jay, is with what we got right now, there's never had been any problems in zoning department.
There hasn't, no, not to my knowledge. The only thing that we've ever seen in the way of holding tank issues are those illegally pumping them, because it's generally someone that doesn't have the funds to pay a pumper the $200 to come and pump out their tank. So they're getting a little half horse grinder motor with a garden hose and dumping it out into the ditch. And we write citations on that in order for corrections annually. And we really actually kicked it in gear this year because we went back through our system as to those that haven't pumped a holding tank in 2 years. I think we had, what was it, over 100 holding tanks that hadn't pumped in 2 years. Now, out of those 100, like 60% of them were truly just deer camps, and they were not full. They use them 1 week a year, and there's a minimum of 2,000 gallons. 2,000 gallons is quite a bit of wastewater. When you're thinking about 3-4 guys up for a deer camp for a week, you're not going to fill up a 2,000 gallon tank. And then those others that we have caught, and we've actually seen an increase in those that are like, oh shoot, the county's watching us. We better get in on the phone with the pumper and get this thing properly pumped out. Because obviously you guys know, we don't have the staff or time to go into every holding tank that we have in the county to make sure that they don't have their little garden hose out into the ditch and that they're trying to pump out their tank illegally, but.
Yeah, so, my thought is, and listening to Jay and Eric, and, I don't see where we need to change anything, just leave it as it is. Schuman,
You guys say anything, or
what do you guys?
I don't want to speak again if you guys have something.
I would leave it as it is, especially if we don't have the staffing for it. We're short on staffing right now, is only, I believe, still, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Okay, then my last comment, Jay, do you see, now if we pass the tourist rooming house as presented, it's 2 per bedroom plus 2,
Mhm.
right? So you think some of these people are gonna wanna have 6 bedrooms in there to get 14 people in that house? And they're not gonna have room for a 6-bedroom drain field, right? If they're on the lake or like
Correct.
you said, or don't own as much property. Do you see them going that route to try to get around that?
Potentially, I guess I would have to, and I have.
But it would
not-
still involve you, right? I mean,
It would, So I have not crunched the numbers to see where we're currently at for those that are advertising occupants versus where their current sewer system sizing is. And I hate to always use this example, but it's the one you always see. It's the red walleye and blue muskie right out by the Big Fish Golf Course.
Oh.
You know, they advertise that they're have the ability to sleep 21 or 22, and yet they have, I think, a 4-bedroom or 3-bedroom sewer system. So even if they're on a 4-bedroom sewer system, that would be for 8 occupants plus the 2, so 10. And if they're saying that it sleeps 20, they're still grossly undersized with our proposed TRH ordinance. Could they expand the size of their conventional sewer system? Yeah, I think they still have some room to do so. Their other option then would be try to, commingle out, holding tank waste. They probably wouldn't straight abandon their conventional system that's in the ground, but they would probably Y off with another portion of the building sewer into a holding tank to allow for that increase of capacity. Could I see those type of situations doing it? Yes. I would say 95 of the other ones that we have out there, I think they're going to be palatable with the number of bedrooms plus 2 that we have proposed. You're going to have those, and you're always going to have those that are going to try to circumvent the rules, or they're going to try to find the loophole. And one of those loopholes is potentially, yeah, we can just drop a holding tank and now we can have more occupancy. I would hope that they would look at trying to resize their conventional system or add capacity onto their conventional before just going the holding tank route, because holding tanks become pretty expensive. I mean, it's $250, if not up to $3.25 to pump out 2,000 gallons of holding tank waste right now. And if you're having, a party of 15 over the course of a week, you're going to have that pumper come out, and that's pumping away your profits, really.
They're golfing, they're drinking beer, they're filling it up.
Right. So I would, if I'm a TRH owner, if I'm putting on my TRH hat, I'm looking at the aspects of expanding my conventional system to increase occupancy before just saying, yeah, let's put a holding tank in. Because again, if I'm having, Northwest or Scott Poppy or someone come and pump out that holding tank, there goes a lot of my profits.
That's not cheap.
No.
Yeah, so I agree to leave it the way it is right now, and we'll see it. We can always go back and amend it, right?
Right.
Jay, if we
Yeah,
start to
if
see
it becomes an issue, although by the time it would become an issue, it might be too late for those that have already installed.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
any more questions? All right, number B, zoning committee public hearing dates.
Yeah, Kathy put this together. You guys should all have a copy of it. We've basically been status quo as far as when zoning committee dates would be. It would be the 3rd Friday of every month, 8:30 a.m. Previous chairs of this committee had looked at other dates. It's tough to move it forward anymore because you have the towns that have their meetings. We have other committees, the usually second weeks of the month. We looked at potentially moving it back a week, but we've always kind of landed back on, well, the 3rd Friday of the month is kind of what we've been. It worked for majority of everyone else. So that's where we've landed here still. The one date that does become a complication with the 2025 schedule would be April 18th, which is the 3rd Friday of the month, which then lands on Good Friday, which the courthouse is closed on Good Friday. So we would be looking to amend that date to some other ones. In just brief initial discussion, the 4th Friday of the month seems to be palatable. No other committees are booked on that day. So instead of April 18th as our meeting date, we'd be looking at April 25th.
I'm okay with that.
Amen.
So we need a motion and approval on that to approve the 2025 schedule with the April date being the 25th of the month.
I'll make that motion.
I second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Savitsky and a second by Mr. Sorolski to approve moving April 18th zoning committee meeting to Friday, the 25th of April.
Oh, sorry. I have it posted as a discussion only. So this is your chance to look at it and see if you see any other issues. I'm gonna have to put this back on
Put
next
it back
month.
on next month's
for
agenda. Yep,
discussion.
sorry, yep, I see it. Okay,
So
All
this
right.
is your initial look, and then we'll do a quick approval next month. So,
yeah, we know where it's
All right.
going anyway.
Yep.
Okay, Any new business that may come before this committee? None? Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.